Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Redneck Light. Tonight we're going to be installing a shunt meter onto my golf cart. Because the other day, we ran out of battery in the middle of driving around, and I had to tow it back with my lawnmower. Point is, the battery meter in here, I mentioned in a previous video, is not for lithium battery. It basically always reads full, and then right at the end, before it's about to die, it immediately drops all the way down to empty, and then the cart dies. So we're going to install a proper shunt battery meter that's designed for lithium batteries, and I don't have to pull out my phone every time I go out in the cart to check. If you have a lithium battery kit, most of them I think come with these shunt meters. For whatever reason, this was converted to lithium, but they never put the meter in. I don't know if that's common or what the deal is, but we're going to get it all fixed tonight. So let's get started. All right, first things first, put her in tow mode or maintenance mode. And then we're going to disconnect the negative battery cable. So as for the meter I've got here, a DROK brand with a little LCD monitor. It's a nice little small thing, and it's got little retainers on the side, so if I'm able to cut a hole accurately enough, I should just be able to slit this in. The important part of this, which is the shunt, basically this thingy goes in line on your negative battery cable through some kind of logic that I don't necessarily understand, can measure the amount of current being drawn by your battery. We got these, which I'm going to crimp onto the battery cable that I will be cutting through. They give you this little cable so that you can power the shunt. This is kind of interesting. The kit comes with these wires, have identical ends. One's a short wire, I guess, if you want to mount this right next to or under the battery, and then a real long one if you want to route it up to the dash, which is what we're going to do. This should be plenty of length, I'm pretty sure. They even give you a nice little wrench. And like I said, wiring diagram, that's not a template, it's just telling you the measurements. So assuming all of this works, this should be a pretty good kit. So first thing we're going to do is going to be wiring in the shunt. So they give you these big old copper clamps, and I'm a little concerned that they're a bit too big for this gauge of wire, but I think we can make do with what we have here. The shunt's not going to really be mounted to anything, so it can go kind of anywhere along. I'm going to cut it in such a way where if something goes horribly wrong and I need to take the shunt out, I can take the end and put it lower down, so that way I can drag this up here and still be able to connect the cart. So linesman pliers, these are great for big wires like this. And see, this is why you tape over the negative battery terminal, so that when you're working in here, you don't accidentally touch it. We need to get about that much to get a good contact on the end here. So I'm going to take the linesman pliers, and I don't have probably the proper battery wire stripper here, but what you can do is just kind of gently move this around with the blade, and you can cut through that jacket without cutting into the wire itself. And then eventually you'll get enough of a divot. Pull the sleeve out there. So all that stranded wire, we're going to just twist it a little bit like that. And I'm really concerned that this crimp may be too big. I think what I'll do is I'm going to crush one end of it and then crush the other end to kind of fold on top of it. There, squishing it in the vise. At least this here. With this one, I'm going to bend that down a little bit more and run it through the vise to really squish down on this and get a good clamp on it. Again, I'm sure there is a tool to do this correctly, but I don't have it, so I'm doing it this way. There we go. Not the prettiest crimp, but it'll do. So that negative wire runs to this post right here. And again, everything's disconnected, so there shouldn't be any power in here. But we'll disconnect this and then pull the wire out. There's a little, like a loose loop or something, kind of retaining all of this. And there we go. Another nicely crimped end. I found this stuck underneath cart. Someone had bought a new Ruger at some point. Take our cover. I got to plug the switch back in. Okay, so after all that, we now have the load side and the battery side, which we will hook up accordingly with the shunt. There's LOD for load, BAT for battery. So this side is going to hook up to the load side. So let me get this. All right, so I got this set up. One little wrinkle to this, all the little accessories, you know, the 12-volt lights, etc., that go to the negative side, I'm going to have to re-terminate these because I can't have anything on the battery side of the cable. Otherwise, it's not going to get read by the meter. So all of these I'm going to have to re-terminate with bigger ring terminals. Accessories re-terminated with big rings. And there we go. We got our accessories still on the load side of the shunt. May have to do a little bit of cable management to get everybody arranged in such a way where we're not pulling on wires or anything, but no biggie. The next thing we also need to do is this little bypass wire that goes into this little green thing. I believe this is to independently power the shunt / meter. So we've got our independent power wire. So sanity check, we're running all the load stuff to the load side here. We've got the bypass wire there. Oh, I need to hook up the screen. And to start, before we get all the way into mounting the dash stuff, I'm going to use that short wire and then just hook up the meter now, plop it right there, and then see if it works. So now I'm going to kind of plan and arrange all of this stuff. I don't love that it's just kind of hanging out up here, floating, you know, up above everything, but at the same time, I don't think it's a big deal. We're going to be very careful. I'm going to have this here. Golly, there's nothing that prepares you for that. And it's reading something. This is confusing. Okay, so I got to set the value as 0 because it's 100 amp hours. Available capacity percentage. I can pull this up actually on the little Bluetooth app, so maybe I can just set it that way. Come on. All right, we're at 70%. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 70%. It shows we're not pulling any amperage. So let me do this. I'm going to turn on the lights. I know for a fact that pulls a few watts. All right, disconnected the battery again. As far as where this meter can go, it'll fit somewhere along here. This is useless, and there's already a hole here. So what I can do is scoot this over and put this right here. Now, my intuition was correct. It wasn't really attached at all. All right, good. It was just a hole cut in here. So we'll make the hole bigger and shove the correct meter in. And I'll just get this out of the way, moved over. So I've got my measurements here, and then I'm going to use this to make it easier to cut. All right, we have roughly where we need to cut. This should be a little bit smaller than what it ultimately needs to be. I'll make the rough cut inside these lines, and then I can use a Dremel to just kind of wallow out the edges. So I got it started on slow speed. Enough to, pop it out. Beautiful. Now I'm just going to take the Dremel, clean up these edges, and that should be just right. This by no means looks beautiful, this trim job. In fact, in many ways, it's rather ugly, but it's all going to be covered up by this. I already tested. It's a very snug fit, but snug fit means it ain't going anywhere. Now, one important thing you need to note with the wiring. One end has no retainer, and one end does have a retainer. Do not mix these up, because it would be a pretty bad thing if you went to all the trouble of routing this wire and got the ends wrong. The one with the retainer goes at the battery. This one without a retainer goes into the back of the screen, which needs to be up here. There's really not any secret to this. Just kind of find a way, get everything loosely set up, and then you can secure everything with zip ties. I'll kind of show you where I ended up routing it here in a minute. So yet another thing I found kind of buried in the dash of the golf cart. Half of something golf related, I'm guessing. Something Haven Club somewhere in Arkansas. Maybe that's where the golf cart's from. I know the key's got this fun little thing on it. Golf Carts of Louisiana, distributors for Club Car, even though it's an EZGO. So maybe it's been in Louisiana and Arkansas, and now it's in Texas. I guess Bing Bong's been around. Bing Bong being the name that my kids gave the golf cart because it's purple, I guess. I don't see the resemblance, but I didn't get to make the naming decision. All right, hopefully I can capture this with the camera, but I got this routed up here, and honestly, this EZGO golf cart is kind of nice in that it's got some channels kind of already built in. You can see right there, this isn't the exact one I used, but there's little channels built in where you can route wiring all through the golf cart. So I found a hole behind the dash where some of the other wiring was going into, and I just kind of followed it. I'm just going to zip tie it along here. Pull it on through. Oh, one last thing I do need to do, though. My light switch. I'm going to put it right there. Okay. I burned myself. That was fun, doing the shrink wrap stuff. But everything's wired up, and as a bonus, I even wired this up to the 12 volts. So we'll see if that works. All right, we're in business. We've got voltage on there. I think the next thing I'm going to do is take it for a spin. Okay, it's a new day. We're going to go take a lap around the neighborhood just to see. You'll notice as I start moving, the screen updates, and on my phone I've got the app open so I can kind of compare what the meter says. I know it's probably going to be a little variation, but I would hope and expect that it wouldn't be huge so that I can get an accurate percentage reading. So in a nutshell, and looking back at the footage here, both roughly discharge at the same rate. So they're roughly in agreement. I've read online that neither of these is exact, so the percentage decrease matches between both. So this will be good enough to be able to track the battery percentage in a general sense. I'd also like to see what happens when I plug in the charger. See if it is registering it. Yep, you can see now it's going positive on that. It even looks like it gives an estimate of how long it's going to take to charge, if I'm reading that right. And you can see there it roughly matches what the app is saying. That's all there is to it. Installing the shunt meter, definitely a good move on a golf cart. All it really takes is kind of pay attention to the instructions, and you'll be good to go. So hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, subscribe. I have a few other videos on this golf cart, doing wiring, putting on mods, things like that. At some point, I'm going to put a radio in here and speakers and all kinds of stuff in it. If you have any suggestions or anything, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, hope you enjoy. We'll see you next time.